Okay, so just typing these into your calculator, what's 8 squared root of 3? 13.86. What's 7 squared root of 6 divided by square root of 3? Is 9.9. 10 squared root of 3 times 2? 34.65. 6 squared root of 3 divided by 2 multiplied by the square root of 5.
16.43.
Is what?
16.43.
16.43. All right, 8 divided by the square root of 3.
4.61.
Okay, 4.61. 7 square roots of 6 times the square root of 3.
9.7.
Okay, 10 squared root of 3 divided by 2.
8.66.
Okay, and then 6 squared root of 3 divided by square root of 2 times square root of 5.
3.30.
Is what? 3 point what? 29. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do this, I want to look on the back of your warm-up real quick. Okay. So on the back of your warm-up, you have 2 of these triangles. Now, sometimes numbers are put on there, and it's not necessarily that, but this is, I'll assure you, when I put this on here, I measured it, and if you use a protractor, you'll see this angle is exactly 30 degrees, okay? So what I want you to do is I want you to measure this shorter leg right here first, in centimeters. So measure that in centimeters. Tell me what you get. Okay, it's right at 4. Okay, now measure the length of the hypotenuse. Okay, gives you 8. Okay, let's do the same thing on this smaller triangle. So measure this shorter leg right here. How long is that? Okay, try it at 2.5. And then measure the hypotenuse.
5.
And it gives you exactly 5. Okay. On a 30, 60, 90, this relationship will always be true. Okay, so what do you think is going on here?
Half of it.
Okay. Okay, good. Yeah, you can think of it either way. This shorter leg is always going to be half of the hypotenuse, or the hypotenuse is double whatever this is. Okay? 4 is half of 8, 2.5 is half of 5, or 8 is double 4, 5 is double 2.5. Now, we could do this again with a bunch of 30, 60, 90s, and it will always work out this way, okay? This is not by coincidence. It will always happen like this. 30, 60, 90, this doubled to give you the hypotenuse. Now, there's another rule to get down here. It's not as easy to see. So we're going to use Pythagorean theorem to find out what this is going to be down here. What we're going to do today is we're going to start talking about 30, 60, 90s. Okay? So we've spent the last 3 or 4 days talking about 45, 90s. So we're going to switch over and talk about a different one. So you're going to have to keep that in mind. So now let's flip over to this. And we're going to do Pythagorean theorem to find out what the rule is to get down to that other longer leg. So on number 1 there on that page, which one is the C?
12.
Is the 12. So again, going back to earlier this week and before Thanksgiving, but when we know C, do we add or subtract? Subtract. So it's going to be like this. 12 squared minus 6 squared square rooted. Okay, what is 12 squared? 144. What's 6 squared? 36. What is 144 minus 36? Is 108. Now what I want to do from here is factor 108. So plug this into the menu 2, 3 and factor 108 real quick for me. Okay, factors is 2 2s and 3 3s. So we've got a pair of 2s, we've got a pair of 3s. So that's a 2 outside, that's a 3 on the outside. So what does that end up being? 6 square root of 3. Okay, now I just want to do one more so you can see this working. So on number 2, same thing. It's going to be 24 squared minus 12 squared square rooted. What's 24 squared?
576.
576, and 12 squared? 144. 576 minus 144.
432.
432. And then if you break down 432, doing, factoring it, what does that give you? 4 2s and 3 3s. So you got a pair of 2s, another pair of 2s, and a pair of 3s. So that's a 2, another 2, and a 3.
12 square root of 3.
Okay, 12 square root of 3. Okay, so in 30, 60, 90, like we measured and saw, this shorter leg is always going to be half of the hypotenuse. Okay, 6 is half of 12, 12 is half of 24. It will always be like that. Okay, now this number down here, how do you think this relates to what's going on the rest of them?
The square root of 3.
Okay, it's the shorter leg times the square root of 3. See how this is 6, this is 6 square root of 3, this is 12, this is 12 square root of 3. Again, that's not by coincidence. It will always happen like that. Okay? So, following that rule, how long do you think this missing side is going to be here on number 3?
4 square roots.
It's going to be 4 square roots of 3. And if we did the Pythagorean theorem on that, did the process we just did over there, you would see it gives you 4 square roots of 3. It will always work like that. Okay, so on number 4, how long do you think that missing side would be?
5 square roots of 3.
5.
It would be 5 square roots of 3. On number 5, how long is that missing side going to be?
14.
It's 14. Just like we talked about. The shorter leg is always half of the hypotenuse, or the hypotenuse is double whatever the shorter leg is. Okay, then on number 6, how long is that missing side going to be? That's going to be 9. Okay, so on number 7, how long is this side going to be?
30.
It's going to be 30. How long is this side going to be?
15 square roots of 3.
15 square roots of 3. On number 8, how long is this side going to be? 26. And then the bottom down there, 13 square roots of 3. Okay, now, in the general form, okay, if this side is x, whatever x is, how long is the hypotenuse going to be?
X squared.
Yes. It's not x squared. It's not x times x. It's just x times 2, right? It's just doubled. So it's like this. Either x times 2, or you could just write it as 2x. Because if you think about it like this, okay, if this was 9 and it was 9 squared, that would mean that this is 81, but that's not right. This would be 18. It's just times 2. Okay? And then if this side is x, how long is this side going to be?
Square root of 3.
Yep, x times the square root of 3. Okay, so on 30, 60, 90, there's always going to be a shorter leg. Let's call it the short leg. There's going to be the long leg. And then, obviously, we're going to have the hypotenuse. On 30, 60, 90, there will always be a short leg, a long leg, and the hypotenuse. Okay, so the short leg times 2 gives you the hypotenuse. Short leg times 2 tells you how long the hypotenuse is. Okay, the short leg times the square root of 3 tells you the length of the long leg. Okay, then over here again, short leg, long leg, hypotenuse. So if you take the hypotenuse, divided by 2, that tells you how long the short leg is. And then if you take the long leg and divide it by the square root of 3, that tells you how long the short leg is. So we're just writing in words there what we've already talked about on the front side. Okay. So, on number 1, this 8 is the short leg. So how long would the hypotenuse be? 16. How long would the long leg be? 8 square roots of 3. Okay. On number 2, the 240 is the hypotenuse. How long is the short leg? 120. And then the long leg? 120 square roots of 3. Okay, now number 3. The long leg down here is 8 square roots of 3. Yep. And also you can think about it like this, because sometimes it won't be as clear as this. Because this, they just turn into that. But you think about it like this. If you take the long leg, this is the long leg, and you divide it by the square root of 3, that'll tell you how long this is. So if you take the 8 square root of 3, divide it by the square root of 3. Yeah, these square root of 3's cancel basically, and that just leaves 8. Which actually, number 1 and number 3 are the exact same thing. See, 8 square root of 3 down here, 8 square root of 3. So this is 8, 8, and so then the hypotenuse is 16. Okay, do 4, 5, and 6 real quick. All right, so on number 4, the hypotenuse is 28, 14 square roots of 3. 18 square roots of 3, and then 50 square roots of 3. All right, number 7. So the long leg is 99 square roots of 3. How long is the short leg going to be? 99. When you divide by the square root of 3, that's just going to cancel that off. We'll cancel it to 1. And then how long is the hypotenuse? It's 198. Okay, on number 8. All right, so we have 5 square root of 3 times 2. So 5 square root of 3 times 2. Okay, and let's go ahead and multiply this together, like still with the radical in it. So remember, the 2, does it get multiplied to the 3 or to the 5?
To the 5.
It's multiplied to the 5 because those are both outside numbers. So this turns into 10 square root of 3.
That's the same.
Yep, and then so what is it as a decimal?
17.32.
17.32. Now this is the short leg, the 5 square root of 3. And so to get to the long leg, from short leg to the long leg, you take the short leg times the square root of 3. So I'm going to take 5 square roots of 3 times the square root of 3, which is 5 square roots of 9, which actually just ends up being exactly 15. Okay, on number 9. So this is the hypotenuse. So to get from the hypotenuse back to the short leg, we're going to do the hypotenuse divided by 2 to tell me the short leg. So if I do 18 square root of 3 divided by 2, that's going to end up just being 9 square root of 3. And then as a decimal, it's what?
15.5.
15.5 what?
9.
Okay, and then, all right, I'm going to go back to the 9 square root of 3 that we had right here. Okay, times the square root of 3. That gives you 9 square root of 9. Square root of 9 is 3. So that gives you 27. Which if you just took this 15.59 and multiplied it by the square root of 3, it gives you like 27.0004 or something like that. So.